Good morning and once again welcome to my YouTube channel, Pearson and Excel International Maths by Mr. Kamoto. And today I want to introduce a very important subtopic in solving quadratic equation. And today we will be learning how to solve quadratic equation by use of quadratic formula. And we are told that if you have ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0, which is a general format of a quadratic equation, then x is given by minus b plus minus the root of b squared minus 4ac, everything over 2a, and this is now what we call the quadratic formula. Before I go there, it is important to remind ourselves that we have several methods of solving quadratic equation. We have graphical methods. We are going to find out. We also have factorization method, factorizing method. This one has been used. We have learned about it, BAC approach. We have also learned about completing the square method. Completing the square method. At least you are aware with that. You are familiar with that and that. And now we are going to have the very major one, which is called the quadratic method approach. This, I must say, it is a method that can be used anytime, anywhere, with any quadratic equation. So if you ask me, this is the major thing in this particular topic. And I want to start by deriving the quadratic formula or proving the quadratic formula. Though it is not important, I think it is critical for any mathematician to learn how does it come about. Anytime you have ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0, we are going to derive this by completing the square, and you're going to have something like dividing. To make this the coefficient of ax squared 1, you divide everything by divide or everything by a. And what do we have? We have x squared plus b over ax plus c over a, which is equals to 0. At least at a particular point, we can already say that x squared plus b over ax is equals to minus c over a. Fine. We just brought this term across so that we can now complete the square of the left-hand side. Completing the square on the left-hand side, completing the square of the left-hand side, we have, completing the square of the left-hand side, we have, of course, our b happens to be b over a, so we have x plus b over a over 2, which is b over 2a squared minus b over 2a squared is equals to minus c over a. Fine. You realize that this one can be written as x plus b over 2a squared minus b squared over 4a squared is equals to minus c over a. Further, we can have it like x plus b over 2a squared being given by, when this one crosses over, the whole of this term crosses over, it becomes plus, so b squared over 4a squared minus c over a. These are two fractions that are being subtracted together, so we can take the LCM of this as 4a squared, and then we combine the two. This divided by this denominator, we have 1 minus b squared, we have b squared. 4a squared divided by a, we get 4a. 4a times minus c, we have minus 4ac. So if we take this one now, on the right hand side we have x plus b over 2a squared is equals to b squared minus 4ac, everything over 4a squared. So to make x the subject of the formula, you must get the square root of this side and the square root of this side, whereby the square root of this side is simply x plus b over 2a, which is equal to, and this is now where I want us to be keen. You realize that the numerator b squared minus 4ac as a single term, it doesn't have an existing terminating square root, because as much as we can get the square root of b squared, which is b, it is not easy to get the square root of 4ac. So we leave it just like that under its root. So b squared minus 4ac, but the denominator has a terminating square root. And the terminating square root of the denominator is simply 2a, because the root of 4a squared is 2a. But having said that, or having reached there, the square root now is only under the numerator, because the denominator's square root has been found. So to make x the subject of the formula, it is going to be x is equals to, when this term crosses over, becomes minus b over 2a. And of course, by the time we are looking for the square root of any number, please note that the root of any number is plus or minus. The square root of any number, any positive number, is plus or minus. So when this one crosses over to this other side, we have minus b over 2a plus or minus the root of b squared minus 4ac, everything over 2a. And again, we find ourselves with two fractions that are added together or subtracted. So we need to capture the general LCM, whereby the general LCM of the denominator is simply 2a. So x is equals to 2a divided by 2a is 1. 1 times minus b is minus b. 2a divided by this is 1 times whatever was at the numerator is b squared minus 4ac. And that is now the quadratic formula. That becomes the quadratic formula. And we have been able to derive the quadratic formula. Please note that at your age or at this level, you are not expected to derive the quadratic formula, but it is important you know how it comes about, so that you avoid questions of how is this possible. So that is it. And please note that the next video we shall be learning how to use the quadratic formula, and I can't wait to explain to you how easy it is to use quadratic formula in whatever kind of a quadratic equation. So once again, visit my YouTube channel. You run this video again and again, watch and share. Of course, subscribe widely so that we can work together. Talk to people about this channel, and they subscribe and they watch videos, and let us work together. All right.